Well, welcome everybody. Andrew and I are excited and ready for tonight. We hope you are too. So it's great to have you joining us. Do us a favor in the chat. Let us know where you're from. Would love to know where you're from as well, obviously.
Yeah, so we are like a minute. We'll give it a couple of minutes, right, Jim? We have people joining in from all over the country. Good to be with everybody tonight, as Jim said. All right. It's going to be a nice session here.
You know, it's always so important to make sure people start right. And that's what it's going to be fun talking about tonight, Andrew.
This might be the greatest Zoom broadcast that we've ever conducted.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I do expect it to be outstanding.
Yes, we are talking about something that's very valuable, very important, and something that unfortunately a lot of unfranchised owners don't take the time to do properly, you know, and we got to make sure that everybody knows coaching points and tasks and activities to set somebody up to succeed. That's what it's all about.
Well, you know, I'm here with Vice President Andrew Weissman. I'm Vice President of Sales, Jim Winkler. Want to welcome everybody. Thanks for putting in where you're from. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces and all around the world, actually. I saw you, Ann, from Sydney, Australia as well, and people coming in from all different countries. You know, and Andrew, I think as we start this, you know, it's a little bit of a tougher broadcast in some ways because, of course, we are still dealing with the loss of our founder, JR, and our mentor in so many ways. And but, you know, we're doing exactly what he would have wanted us to do, and that is to carry on and move forward. And you know, we're lucky, and I know you and I have talked about this privately a lot too, that JR was the master of training and duplication. And really, it's in some ways, it feels like he was preparing the whole team and the field for what's happened, you know, that whole time. So we're very grateful for the fact that he trained us all that way to move forward and put such an emphasis on taking advantage of time and doing things the right way.
Yeah, the one thing that JR, of course, had the most value for and was most important is time. He never wanted to waste any time, you know, and everything was scheduled. Time was critically important because at the end of the day, time is limited for all of us. You know, we don't realize how fragile life is sometimes and how short, you know, life is, you know.
Well, boy, if anything, we've learned that in the last 10 months, haven't we?
Yeah.
You know, obviously we're talking about our 53. You and I both have our 53 challenge shirts on in honor of Dennis. And of course, then with the passing of JR in the last week. And please have your prayers, you know, for the Ridinger family and for everybody, really.
Everybody,
because it affected everyone, obviously them much closer, but also you, I know, talked to a lot of unfranchised owners over the last week. And, you know, it's great to see us all pulling together as a community, working together. And a lot of people have come up, Andrew, and said, hey, I'm making a huge commitment, you know. I realize I don't have the time I thought I had, and I'm going to make this happen now. And I think that's a smart thing for all of us.
Amen. Amen. He prepared us, you're right, for all these years, you know. Repetition leads to duplication. And as everybody knows, a lot of things have been repeated over these years, but he did prepare us to continue to lead as we partner with our field organization and take this enterprise to new heights and make JR proud and finally fill that arena up with
directors,
you know. So we'll do that. And this segment, you know, if we all practice these tasks and activities that we're going to talk about, there are a lot of value. It's the things that sets people up to success, and we'll ultimately get to that, to reach that goal.
Yeah, and it was always one of the keys JR talked about is how do you start somebody, you know, and you know, he demonstrated again with the ABC pattern at the event, and you know, getting people customers and getting people even as they're starting the business. He did that, and I think, you know, we would laugh all the time how repetitive things were. But really now you look at it and you say, you know, he did that so that we would remember the important things, remember the quotes, remember the the things that are there. So anyway, it's great to be with you and great to be with all of you. And we're going to dive into this and share with you how to start somebody correctly. I'm going to share my screen, Andrew, and I will then go to our PowerPoint. Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes.
All right, here we are. All right, great. Okay, so as we go into this today, this is going to be about starting a new unfranchised owner, right? And Andrew and I have talked about how important that is to be able to do. It really it's no good bringing someone into the business that you don't start right. To be honest, I'd rather keep them as a customer. One of the things we believe firmly in is why do you bring somebody into the business? And that is so that you lead to other people, whether they be customers or business owners. So that's why starting the person right and getting them going fast makes such a big difference.
And a lot of this, getting somebody started right happens even prior to them officially registering their business. You referenced the business building segment that JR led, one of the segments he did at the international convention. And a lot of this comes back to using the evaluation approach, the no decision close and the trial run.
Right.
By executing that the way JR demonstrated it with the team on the stage, it makes common and economic sense to establish the business because it's already working, it's already developing, it's already growing, because the potential sponsor or the ultimate sponsor is working with that individual through this process. And that's something that JR always very strongly reinforced and emphasized. And it's something that some people are guilty of, just registering somebody in the business, looking to get that 300 BV and get them registered and then kind of turning them, letting them loose,
Yeah.
And JR has always said, you kind of like throwing them overboard into a pool of sharks to be eaten alive out there because they're not prepared. You know what I mean? So by working with somebody, of course, we can instill that confidence and knowledge until they have that confidence and knowledge to move forward and continue to carry on and grow.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, one of the beautiful things about our business is the business model is systematized. It's put together in a way that it's set up for you to be profitable and retail driven right from the beginning. And retail driven means you can make money when you're doing that. The things we ask new unfranchised owners to do are things that have been proven out over the past 30 years. And they take into account things that are happening in the economy, things that are happening with the buying habit of customers. So all the things we're talking to you about right now are not, it could work. It does work if you do the work with it.
The fundamentals stay the same.
I'm sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just to reinforce what you said or to piggyback on what you said, the fundamentals of the business and these principles that we've taught have remained the same for 30 years. It's really true. I mean, yeah, we're fortunate to have evolved and grown. Technology, of course, is advanced and we can be even more efficient, more effective. But at the end of the day, these fundamentals we're going to talk about that are outlined in the Getting Started Guide, that are in our trainings, still get results if they're practiced and if the individuals are consistent at practicing these principles,
And we've proven it so much by A, either doing it right or by B, doing it wrong. You'll see how it works. So what are some of those principles? One are selling products, and we're going to talk about that. We need to move products. We need to talk about the business, of course, sell the business, share it with people so they can see it. Tickets and education. I don't think this has ever been more vital than it is today. The assembly of people, getting people together, not just on Zoom like we are tonight, but getting people together in person again. And of course, being your own customer. So when you're bringing somebody new in, you want to get them customers, you want to get them sharing the business, you want to get them attending and selling tickets, and you want them to be their own best customer.
Amen. Amen. And as I mentioned just briefly a couple of minutes ago, if the evaluation approach, no decision close and trial run process is practiced, then the exposure of our products and the exposure of our business with the ultimate sponsor is already happening, so the business is already succeeding for the individual prior to them registering their business. So when they do register, they already have a couple of people who have already evaluated the business, they're looking to register because they've introduced the products and the business to other people. It's already in that flow, in that process, and you've already got that going. So it's a kind of a natural or organic type of a process that we end up attracting, the right people for our team, and if this is not practiced, then, you end up having some frustrations and some difficulties. Sometimes a little bit of a tug of war. You're trying to get people to do the things that they need to do in order for them to succeed. Whereas really it shouldn't be that way. It should be very, very natural, fun, enjoyable, fulfilling endeavor. And if it's practiced in the way that we're talking about, and the way JR taught for over 30 years, that will be the case,
Yeah. And I think fun is the key, as you say that too, because you never want to have to convince people to get started. That's not fun when you're begging or trying to convince. What's fun is when you've got somebody who's saying, hey, I see this, I want to do it. I've got the people in front of me already. Let's go, Andrew. Let's get this thing rolling. I can't wait. And that happens when you're doing the things that Andrew's talking about.
Exactly. And a lot of that comes down to us as unfranchised owners understanding the value of the business that we own and respecting it. Sometimes we have a tendency, like you just said, of looking to twist somebody's arm or get them into the business or get them registered. And that really devalues the business. You know what I mean? You have to be careful in the messages that we send. Sometimes they're not the things that we verbalize, but our actions. It's very, most of our communications are nonverbal, and so we got to be very careful on what we practice. Because most people will duplicate what only is 50% or so of the things you do, but they'll always duplicate the things that we don't do
right
at the time. But the Getting Started Guide, of course, has been put together and it outlines in a very simple format the tasks and activities that we know have been proven to yield success. All the basic principles and fundamentals are outlined in this Getting Started Guide. It was reinforced in the presentation we've already referred to a couple of times at the International Convention by JR. And it can be and should be really utilized when somebody is starting on that trial run. They don't have to be in the business registered as an unfranchised owner officially for them to start to think about what their goals are, what their purpose is, start to use that page with the possibilities list.
Yeah.
You're getting this tool set in motion, and it's in their hands. It's a physical tool, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of value to it if it's used,
I'm glad you said that because, one of the things Dennis and I always used to talk about was we like to go through the first part of this, which we're going to share tonight, before we register somebody. And the reason for that was if they were saying they were serious about the business and then you're going through the first part, but they're not committing to doing any of those activities, you have to realign their goals because they can't say, I want to come out and I want to really, really do well with this if they're not willing to put the effort, time, and follow the system. So Dennis had taught me a long time ago, don't do the registration, then the Getting Started Guide. Do the Getting Started Guide, the first part, then do the registration, and you can still do them in the same day, or same time, but then you're on the right path and you're still in control of what's going on. So I agree completely with you on that.
Excellent point. And by the way, congratulations to all the new unfranchised owners that are out there. I'm sure we have a number of them who have tuned into this Zoom session. And of course, we have a number of unfranchised owners that have tuned in that are experienced in the business. Yeah. Maybe haven't sponsored anybody yet, or maybe they have and maybe made some mistakes that we can learn from the mistakes and adjust our ways a little bit in order to get, the better result. But as we learned, JR, once again at this international convention, he taught us the value of time, right? And we already know how limited time is. We want to ensure that our investment of time into the unfranchised business is quality. Because at the end of the day, that's the majority of the investment that we're making. It's in time. It's not in money. right?
Right.
Now, of course, as an aside, being that it doesn't cost that much money to establish the business, we have to ensure that somebody doesn't treat it like a business that costs less than $500. You know what I'm saying? It needs to be treated with respect and the value that it is, and the potential that we have with it. So the exponent Q, of course, stands for quality time, and that what that means is that you're practicing the basic 5 fundamentals. You're performing the result producing activities that Jim highlighted earlier. And if we put quality time into the business, we know we're going to get growth, right? And if we do it with our partners, we're going to get proper duplication. That's what the D stands for. So by investing quality time to get growth and duplication, we know it's going to result in the creation of more BV and IBV, which of course results into bigger and more frequent commissions. And that's the formula. That's
the point. I always used to say, Andrew, in duplication, don't do anything a 10-year-old can't do. Because if you go out and you recreate the wheel trying to do something, but nobody else on your team can do it, you've created a job. If you follow the basic 5 and do those result producing activities, the RPAs, the selling the tickets, the creating customers, the things we've talked about, showing the plan, that's duplicatable by everyone. And that's how you create that fast momentum that we're going to talk about.
RPAs, I haven't heard that one before. Result activity, RPAs. I really haven't heard of
I'm glad, I've gave you a little acronym there. I've been practicing ever since Drayton gave all those acronyms. I'm trying to work on it a little bit. He was so good with it.
Phenomenal.
What an amazing presentation he did, by the way, which is available in our back office in unfranchise.com, along with JR's presentations, guys. If you haven't had the chance to see that from international conventions, there's just a few of the videos there, but it's wonderful to have those available for people in the Learning Center area. So when you start with somebody like this, Andrew, one of the things, I always like to do, I like to sit down, I like them to check this off. And I say, look, I want you to commit for 12 months because you can't tell anything in 3 to 6 months. You won't even know what you're doing really during that. So give it a year. At the end of a year, if you're not happy, then say, hey, thanks, I gave it a shot. But if you do it right, then you're going to be great. When I started, that is what I told a lady named Marta Arkabar. I said, I'll do this right for 12 months. If you're lying to me, or if it doesn't work because you lied to me, then I'll quit at the end of a year. And she said, great, go ahead. And at the end of 12 months, obviously things were going great. But I knew in my mind I had to give it that much time. And I think doing that, it's not just, oh, I'm in the business, like, hey, I'm in Market America, Andrew. No, it's committing 8 to 15 hours per week. What are we going to do at that time? What's result producing activities again? What we're going to talk about now. Do I have tickets to my next event? What's the next event that's going? The next in-person event that you can get to. Do you have tickets for your leadership school at this point? I hope you do, because we're as we know, what are we, under 300 now or something?
It's getting under 250 now. It's actually we're getting to the point. It's gonna sell out, which is going to be very exciting. But the leadership school, going back to the original format, it's going to be a special event at the Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida.
Even more so probably now, because we'll be teaching a lot of those fundamentals. Jared was so excited for this. Convert your spending into earning by completing the shopping annuity assessment. Really just start buying from yourself. To me, it just makes complete sense. Listen to the audios and videos. By the way, all the audios are available right now on the Unfranchised Business app that we have from International Convention. So every presentation is on there. It's on your Unfranchised Business app under Media. So that's something you should be doing on a regular basis. Two a week is actually a very, very minimum. Exactly. Look at and start figuring out that Master Unfranchise Owner program, and then start the 53 challenge for guidance and accountability. I think that's one of the things that, if I'm a new person, or if I was coaching a new person, it'd be one of the first things I'd say, let's do this, so that each week, even if you're not doing it, it shows you what you're not doing, so you can look at what you should be doing. And then practice those basic 5 fundamentals and really work on developing 10 preferred customers. We want people to get paid. That is so important in what we do. And one of the big ways we do that.
Hey, that's well, that was a Well, you handled that slide extremely well, Mr. Winkler. No,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
what I thought of perspective. I think everything, when somebody, registers their business, they go on a trial run, hopefully they've already established, some customers, they have people who have evaluated the business because they're working with their sponsor, everything has to be kept in proper perspective. The business journey should be a very fulfilling, enjoyable endeavor, right? And it should be fun. It should be kept fun. You're taking it seriously because it's a business, but you're enjoying the process.
Right.
I think everything has to be kept in proper perspective. What I mean by that is, things aren't going to work out perfectly. People are going to say no. People are going to, who are closed-minded and who think they know are going to kind of maybe deflate you a little bit or discourage you a little bit, and say things that aren't true because they think they're smart, but they don't know anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't get too high or too low. I think one thing I learned from Kevin Buckman, early on, years and years ago, don't get too high and don't get too low. Keep a nice, even keel as you develop the business. Because the truth of the matter is, there's nothing that can happen that's that detrimental. And there's also nothing that really happens that's that unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? You think about the things that happen. I mean, yes, we want to achieve new levels in the business. Yes, we want to bring on great partners. All these things are stepping stones to getting us closer to where we want to go. So to start this process, continue with this, we want to enter the important dates into your calendar. Make sure what gets scheduled gets done.
That's right.
So if you're fortunate enough to be in a local area that has a scheduled unfranchised business presentation, note it in your calendar and let's work toward that and utilize that as valuable time by bringing people that you've met with 2-on-1 or 1-on-1 to that unfranchised business presentation. Schedule the new unfranchised owner training, schedule the basic 5. And you already mentioned it, Jim, having a ticket to the next in-person event in the local area. You can't sell a ticket that you don't have. So we encourage buying not just one for yourself, but a couple of additional tickets for people that you will ultimately sponsor. But you have to set that system in motion. The same way we're setting the getting started guide system or tool in motion, we're also setting the system of selling tickets, buying and selling tickets in advance in motion as well. And you mentioned the result producing activities. It starts with creating a possibilities list of individuals. Don't prejudge.
That's right.
That a little bit, maybe you hardly know them, but they're just a list of names of people that could benefit from the business and or the products.
Yes.
And we all know that it's not so much those individuals that we're going to approach, it's who they can lead us to. So we view them, we approach them as the conduit or the doorway to leading us to the right people. And it's amazing, the people who end up becoming our best partners are people who could be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people removed from the person that we're working with. But it's a process.
It is. Andrew, as you went through that, I was thinking of a couple things. And it's so important for people to understand. If you're in an area with an unfranchised business presentation in a physical location right now, I'm going to say this, whatever night that is your night to work. Last night I was at a UBP here in our local area where I am in Wisconsin. And, I had a couple of people come say, I can't believe you're here. I know all the stuff you have going on, blah. I said, what? But this is what I do. There's only 2 a month. And those 2 Tuesdays, those nights, those are my work nights. What if it's beautiful out? I could be on the boat on the lake. No, those are my work nights. So you put it in your calendar and you commit to it. Then, as Andrew said, what I do the rest of the 2 weeks is trying to get people. So I have somebody to bring with me to the next one. But when you're new, I used to go, yesterday I was taking notes on things that were being said at the UBP, because sometimes I hear things from somebody else and I like the way they say it. You can't hear it enough. And then it becomes you after you do that for a while. And those trainings, get to them right away. Don't wait. Get trained. I always think knowledge is power in our business, applied knowledge, as long as you do something with it. Once you've done that, figure out next, what is my why? Why am I doing this? So you've got things booked. By the way, why is that important? Because you're starting a business, and Andrew said it earlier. He said, don't treat it like a $500 business or a $149 business. I started this, I treated it like $1 million business. But why'd I treat it that way? Because that's how I looked at it. The fact that it didn't cost me a lot didn't mean I wasn't putting $1 million worth of effort into it, because I had to put the effort in. And I said, okay, I'll put the effort in, but then I'll get the payback for doing that. So what's your why? My why was I wanted to be home a whole lot more. I had a corporate job. I was traveling all the time, wanted to be home. Very, very important to me. When you know your why, and by the way, one of the things I do, I put it right on that business app. I put my why right on my business app. It's got an area there you can put there with your personal goals, the goals to get there, and then review what you're doing. That's why I love the 53 challenge. Andrew, I was so happy when we got on and you had your shirt on. The only thing better would be if we both had our wigs on. But with that, I thought,
rock stars,
you're rock stars. You review the daily tasks and activities, because that 53 challenge keeps you on top of that. And then you build that foundation through the base 10-7 strong.
It's important to you think about keeping things in proper perspective, not getting too high or too low, but it's also important to manage expectations. These are coaching points that we want to use with our new partners, right? Our new teammates.
Yeah.
This is a business that takes time to develop. We just said what you're investing more than anything else is time. And it's a 2 to 3 year business plan, so somebody, if they expect to make a lot of money quickly, they have the wrong mindset from the beginning, and they're going to be disappointed, you see? So I think it's important to coach our new partners and set the right expectations. I'm not saying not to dream big, of course. I'm just saying that it's a 2 to 3 year business plan. We want to build the foundation of a business that's going to last. And by doing the things that we're talking about and following the Getting Started guide, it's all about developing that foundation. So just continuing here, make sure that, Jim, you, I think, pioneered the call workshop. It's a very effective way to start exposing the business to people quickly who don't have the confidence enough to make phone calls on their own, but doing it together as a team to result in, appointments booked, and what gets scheduled gets done. Schedule 2-on-1 and 1-on-1 meetings. And by the way, it comes from the possibilities list, working with your sponsor and determining the best approach to utilize based on what you know about that person on the list. Maybe you're going to approach them with a product. Maybe it's the business. But you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. So it's just a matter of that exposure, making that connection, developing a little bit of a relationship, and seeing who they can lead us to. Right? That's starting the process.
That's why the evaluation approach is so great, that is taught all the time, because by having people evaluate it, you don't know if they're evaluating it for them, for someone else, but either way, you don't really care, because as long as it leads to the right person, it's perfect. And that way you're always, I always think we need to, as we approach people, we want them, if they're not interested in what we're doing, we still want them to be ambassadors. And what I mean by that is we want them to go out and say, you know what? Andrew Weissman shared the business with me, and I don't know if it was for me, but when they come across somebody who's entrepreneurial, wants to do something, they might say, hey, you should call my buddy Andrew, because he's doing something and it's real and he is passionate about it.
Big point. Excellent point. Once again, great ways to get the business off the ground a little bit, beyond the trial run, is scheduling a product preview. Just something simple, it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's casual, it's cool. To expose the product, a wellness event. Zoom has been a very valuable tool. I think we're not going to eliminate it from our business building practices. We can utilize it. It's a valuable tool, but there's nothing that can replace connectivity in person. So. But dropping on and connecting with people on Zoom and then getting together is extremely effective.
Yeah, we've got to merge the two together, because one without the other is not as strong as they can be together, especially when building at a distance.
Exactly. Shop Buddy is a great application. It's a free download to your browser, which makes sure, of course, you're up to date, and exposed to all the great deals and promotions that are happening from, the partners on shop.com, starting to learn the answer to what is it. And this, if it's really being done right, and your sponsor's working with you and you're working with your team, they're exposed to the presentation a number of times, and they're part of conversations. They're actually learning through their experience. And in the Getting Started Guide is a very simple answer to what is it. So you can use that, but we often talk about learning to talk in themes, which is a great audio to listen to. And this way, it's not about memorizing lines. It's about being yourself. You mentioned that earlier, Jim. Being yourself, incorporating your own personality, and just telling a story. And these themes have stories. It's just about telling a story, and people should, if they're not, well, first of all, if they don't qualify, they're not going to be interested anyway. But if they are, has a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit or energy within them, and you're just having a casual conversation and you're talking in themes, more than likely they're going to ask questions. They're going to be a little curious. They're going to be intrigued by things that you're talking about. And when they're asking questions, that means what? That means they're interested in what you're saying. And then that changes the dynamic of what most people kind of think we're after. We're not looking to, once again, register people or twist somebody's arm or look to recruit them if they don't qualify, But if they're asking questions, then you're really in control of the conversation, and they're interested. And that starts with learning to talk in themes and listening sometimes more than you're speaking. And then you mentioned it, Jim, having your purpose clear.
Yeah, I love I love what you just said. And as you were saying it, Roxanne Reed was writing The Dance, which was one of my favorite skits we ever did with JR, where you and I were talking and he was dancing around us, but he was proving that it was just a conversation going back and forth. And he just kept dancing. If you remember, it was great.
Well,
you and I did recently a presentation at the Northern Regional where we went out in the crowd and asked, what is it? And what is it you heard when you first learned about the business? I don't know if you remember, but it was, people couldn't remember anything about what people said about what is it. And we were trying to show them to take the pressure off. You can't screw it up as long as you're honest. You come from a place of goodness and integrity, and that you're sharing something you believe in. You cannot mess it up. The only way you can mess up is by not saying something.
You said it. The only way to approach this business is with pure and good intentions, because it's about supporting other people and helping them to succeed if they deserve our time, energy, and effort. And if that is the case, you automatically succeed. And there's really, I don't know of any other business model that really has that to the extent that we do, with the MPCP and the unfranchised business. And, just talking about the last point was the why and a goal statement, but it's important to list the things that you want. But now with the unfranchised business, once it's established, those confines of that proverbial box that people end up putting us in, or society does, are eliminated, So it's important to start to think a little bigger, you dream a little bigger, and then simply translate the things that you want into the business so that the business takes on meaning for you, you see? And then it's not so much about, oh, I got to go do this, I got to do that. No, it's about, am I really serious about developing the business for the reasons why I established it?
That's right.
And so anyway, so it's worthwhile taking the time to in that goals and a goal statement section of the Getting Started Guide, because it really can change the dynamic of the relationship between you and the people that you sponsor.
Yeah, I agree with you so much. That was very good add on there. And what are we doing while we're doing this? We're adding 2 possibilities daily. Take something and add it in, take something on your phone and your notes, add the possibilities right there so you're taking track of it. Call 1 to 3 of them per day, and just try to get that evaluation approach. Book some things out so you have things to book people into, and then promote the business and products through word of mouth and social media. Those are both great ways to do it. And Andrew said, keep your ears open. So many times we're out and about and somebody will say something where it brings an opening to talk about the products. Don't hesitate to say, I may have something that you'd be interested in learning about. Present that business plan. If you got out and showed the plan twice a week, you would grow so fast. People always ask me, how fast did you do it the first 2 years? How many times you show the plan? I never know, Andrew, because I was just doing what had to be done to make it happen. Like you said, I had my goals, I had my why, and I didn't care how many times I had to do it. And I didn't care how many people said no, because all I cared about was the ones who said yes. but when I looked at that, people said, well, you know, you're not, I remember people tell me, you're not that good. And I said, I know. I said, but I do it a lot more than everyone else.
That's
And
it.
that's why I'm moving faster. So show that plan, follow up with prospects and with customers, be great at follow up,
Yeah.
invite two people to become customers and earn cash back. Listen to the audios each day. Use a new product every week. If you're new, try to think, what's a new product I can add to what I'm already using? What can I replace out of my home? And then have that goal statement right on your phone. And you know what? Go in and look at it each day and remember why you are doing this.
You know, you were consistent. You talked about, you said, what does it take? JR, I'm thinking all these things that JR taught us over the years, just coming back as we go through this. But, you know, you kind of touched on it. When somebody says to JR, you know, what does it take? Well, it takes what it takes. You just do it. Like you just said, you just did what you had to do because you were doing it, because you were serious about making it happen and fulfilling your purpose and reaching your goals, you know. And that's true of anybody. A lot of people have done that, of course, you know. So we talk about building that foundation, you know, so we can have that balance profitability with stability. It starts with base 10 that you've already touched on, having a good base of 10 repeat retail customers, and then 7 strong as we expand distribution by partnering with qualified individuals who are worth our time, energy, and effort. So very simple. You know, 10 customers. The goal is to have each customer creating at least 40 BV a month. It's really not that much. A bottle of OPC3 and a multivitamin. It's even more than that. You know, no big
one
deal.
box of daily essentials.
Daily essentials, exactly.
Yeah.
The 40 BV. So obviously 40 times 10, don't to be a genius, is 400. And then you talked about converting spending into earning. You know, we're not suggesting for a new unfranchised owner to throw everything out of their house and just start anew, but through the process, start new products, you know, start to replace the products that are not paying you or not creating volume for your business with Market America's exclusive products. You're getting more value and you're getting paid for the products that you're using, right? You're creating
and you become a walking testimonial, Andrew, by using them, right? You can talk about them with that. If we do that, I mean, we're rocking. We're base 10, 7 strong. Think about it. I want you to think about this, the veterans who are on with us today. If every one of your people came into the business and got 10 customers in the first 2 or 3 months who ordered on a repeat basis, would they ever leave the business? And the answer is no, never, no matter what, because they'd always be making retail profit. They'd always be generating BV. They'd always feel good about it. And then they'd learn how to build the rest of the business.
Amen.
So, you know, when we talk about this, what's needed? Well, selecting the right products or services. What are you going to focus on? Know the story and know those support materials. And it doesn't have to be a lot of products. You might focus in on 3 to 5 to 6 and then expand it as you know more. I went to was it 2 weekends ago, Andrew? I went and saw Dr. D do a product training live, and boy, I mean, it was, I took 7 pages of notes, and I work with her every day, and I'm thinking the people who aren't there, everyone should be there listening to this stuff, because right away I was thinking of other customers, you know, and that's really what you do. And then you teach a process with the approach, with booking the appointment, conducting the appointment, asking for a sale, follow-up. You've got to understand that these are all part of what we do. And then how do I show the plan? What's the best way to learn to show the plan? Have somebody do it with you. Then once you've done it with somebody, have someone watch you and support you. It's sort of the commentator routine we've done always. Implement a schedule and a buddy plan, as it says there, and then teach the evaluation and no decision close. Go to the videos that are on your unfranchised.com in the Learning Center that JR did when he was doing the ABC pattern this last event, and he just went over and over and over that no decision close. Then book those appointments and create that ABC pattern of duplication. I know we sound like a broken record, and I'm proud of it, because what we're talking about works.
You know, we know that the business will not unfold as perfectly. Sometimes we demonstrate it on stage, but I thought what we did with JR this past one was very realistic. It just showed person to person. Some people were not interested. They left the stage. Some people just wanted to be a customer. You know, some people wanted to evaluate it and see it again. So follow-ups were booked. But the point is, we make progress. right? That's the whole process. Make progress day to day and week to week. And as long as you have your daily goal, you need to satisfy, which is really not that much. It's outlined in the Getting Started guide, a good example of daily goals. Then of course your weekly goal is going to be met. And if that's satisfied, then the monthly goal. But once again, it goes back to what we said in the very beginning. It takes time, an investment of time and consistent effort, having fun and performing these tasks and activities. And in doing so, you can't help but succeed. I mean, we can guarantee,
Yeah.
Base 10, 7 strong. We talked about the base 10, and of course the 7 strong refers to having a minimum of 3 unfranchised owners on the left and 3 unfranchised owners on the right, each implementing base 10, right? And in doing so, that generates over 1,200 BV in accumulated volume in your left and right banks, which of course results in a $300 commission on a monthly basis on top of the retail profits.
Right.
You can't make $3,600 or $2,100 per week until you make $300 a month first.
Boom. I love that.
There you go. It goes back to that keeping everything in proper perspective and managing expectations. That might not seem like a lot of money, and $300, it's not that much, but it is $300,
Yeah.
But at the same time, once again, it goes back to the value of the asset that's being created. Let's talk about follow-up.
Yeah, and with the follow-up, again, keep this in perspective with what you're doing. This is a next appointment. This is not all in one appointment now with this Getting Started guide. We're on appointment 2 and then maybe appointment 3 going through this. Now we're checking to make sure, okay, is the name list done? Has it been taken care of? Don't just tell someone to do it. What if they didn't do it? What do you do? Well, then you sit down and you do it with them. What if at this point they haven't generated any customers? Well, what do? Go through the names list. Who do we work with? Now, the other thing I'll tell you, too many people try to make it about what they say. One of the things I think is really important if you want to generate customers is use our tools and our technology. I brought a customer with me to Dr. D, Andrew, and I paid for their ticket. It was $15. Why'd I do that? Because then I could just sit there, take notes, and at the end of it, they're ordering so much. I got my money back, and now I'm going to get it every month over and over. I didn't do the work. I used Dr. D as my tool for that day to help me. But I do that with videos. I do that with brochures. I do that with the Unfranchised Marketing app. That is how you follow up, team. And Andrew, on the Unfranchised Marketing app, we have the Pulse part of that now for customers. Oh, that is so perfect for a way to do follow up.
The things you just said, every single unfranchised owner in our global community can do.
Yes.
Take any special talent, any special abilities, any special knowledge necessarily, just being the awareness of the tools and technology that are at your disposal to utilize to get results. Yeah. And I already mentioned the possibilities list page, in there, the organizational chart, which refers to having a minimum of 4 qualified unfranchised owners on the left and right of your business development center that you're developing. There's just something about having 4 who are committed to executing and practicing the tasks and activities in the Getting Started guide, the basic 5 fundamentals of the business, and being consistent in performing the result producing activities. And if they've translated the things that they want into the business, so the business is taken on meaning for them, okay, they're going to grow their business with you or without you. But the point is, you've set them up for success by doing the things that we've talked about during this session, and the way this is organized, the MPCP, still the most lucrative yet most realistic compensation plan ever created.
Yeah. And the reason it shows, I'll go back one, it shows 4 PS, personally sponsored. You want to have more than 1 and 1. It's not sponsor to and stop. It's sponsor to and start. You want to continue to grow because that continues to build that fire from down below. And as Andrew said, why is 4 such a big number? Because it creates momentum. It shows people that things are happening with or without them. Don't join the business and depend on somebody else to do it. Join the business and say, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be the one who leads and supports those other people and gets them there while I'm doing it. And of course, we talked about the master unfranchised owner program before. Put that up, look at it, make that part of your goal statement as we do it. And Andrew, this is where we have the in the back office under resources. If you go to Learning Center, as you can see right here, this is where they can find those videos from JR from the International Convention. And we do have that special presentation Drayton did too, which was just outstanding. One of the, actually, I think one of the best presentations I've seen in my years of watching presentations at our major events.
Agree. Yes.
And you know, we discussed the 53 challenge, and if you're not partaking in it, it's still time to jump in. To me, all this is accountability, and I'm an accountability freak on the business, because I think, again, and Andrew said it, it's consistency. It's showing what you're doing, it's showing what you're not doing, and it allows you to improve. JR always used to say, measure, monitor, and adjust. And you can't adjust unless you measure and monitor. And that's what this allows you to do with our Stay Focused, Stay the Course 53 challenge.
You know, Jim, you mentioned something earlier. When I thought, once again, I thought of JR again. Think about activation. Yes, activating is a step in the process, but a lot of people don't, they treat it like, okay, I activated, now I'm kind of done. And I'm hopeful that those two people I sponsor are just going to grow the business. I'm just going to sit back and collect all the commissions. Well, we know that doesn't work that way, but it's just a step. It's a step that makes you eligible to earn commissions. What we're looking to do is simply develop 2 vertical lines of distribution, left and right, have fun in the process, use the Getting Started guide, plug into the system, utilize the technology and the tools and the GMTSS, and you have to try not to succeed if you're doing these things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It has to work. So yes. And the Stay Focused, Stay the Course 53 challenge has been a blessing, and it's great to see you see a lot of consistent names on the leaderboards.
We do. I know you and I look at that every week to see who's on there, to see what they're doing. And it's great to see the people really making some big jumps because they're doing that. And I was laughing when you started talking about JR with activation, because he always used to go, oh, they're activated. Oh no, because he didn't want them to stop building. And that's why I've always said, it's when you activate, you start. It's great to get activated. I mean, I couldn't wait to be activated when I was like, I just want to get that second person. I want to be able to get that check. But then you can't stop. You got to start. You got to really go. And some things to cover when you're getting somebody started. Make sure you go through, you get their business account set up for commissions. You got to enter their checking information. Review the BV and IVV auto placement for them. Make sure they're set up with that. Review their monthly auto ship order. Make sure that that's good. Make sure they accept communications, especially texts on their phone. Show them how to register a customer. I can't believe 2 things people don't do. They don't show people how to make a customer, and they don't show people how to make an order. 2 of the most important things a new person needs how to do. So you want that retail receipt. You want to show them how to log into shop.com, how to invite friends to earn cash back, and how to do the shopping assessment. Again, so one of the things you're hearing from Andrew and I is it takes some time, right? Well, that's because it's a business. And that's how we have treated it, because we know if we treat our people as our most important assets we have, and our goal and our job is to help them get paid, we're going to get everything we want if they're successful. So I mentioned a product order. Show them how to download the apps. Again, I can't believe how many times I'll do a training. People say, I didn't know we had that app. I'm like, who's your sponsor? I want to bring them up here right now and talk to them. Talk to them about the Zooms going on or the shop lives that are happening. One of the things we do every quarter is inventory management. This might be that second appointment on some of this, but sharing with them ways to take care of that. And Andrew mentioned before, get those trainings done right away, okay? Show them the homepage. I love to show them what's on the widgets, how it works, how to review a couple reports. They don't need to know everything. It's overwhelming. But here's what I like to do. If I do this with them, Andrew, when they get to the NUOT, it's not all brand new. So now it's a little bit of review because they've seen something, so it sinks in a lot better for them. Right. All these things help when you're starting a new person.
Amen. So listen, I think we're getting toward the end of this session, but we talked about working with the sponsor working with our new partners, right? You got to be coachable if you expect to be successful in the business. Don't waste time trying to reinvent the process. Don't try to reinvent the wheel or do things differently. We know what works.
Right.
We're not trying to be haughty or,
But no,
be
we're being the way you need to be when you talk to people, because you need to be passionate and you need to be confident in what works. And that's really what we're telling you. We know what works. We know it will work, and we know what it can do for you if you do it.
And time, listen, we all know time. We already mentioned time a few times here. It's limited. So act with a sense of urgency, be passionate about what you're doing because you've internalized it, because you've translated the things that you want into the business. You're clear on what your purpose is, and stay committed and consistent at performing everything that we've talked about, during this session. Jim, you did a lot of great points. And one of the things we need to make sure of, if we're sincere and if we're serious about growing, then you already have your 3 tickets to the leadership school. Like I said earlier, we're going back to the original format. The original format was have one annual international convention and then have one annual leadership school. And the leadership school is a different type of an event. It's much more interactive. We go much more into depth on the principles and the techniques and the fundamentals that we know get results. We're going to be doing a lot of role playing, and you're right. JR was extremely excited about.
He already wrote a 20-page. Before JR passed, he had already written 20 pages up of what he wanted to do with this. This is amazing. He was so excited. So we're going to take those pages and we're going to work with him, and we're going to put this together for everybody, and give you everything we've got, because we know you can do this. If you would believe in yourself as much as we believe in you and know what you can do, and what this can do for you, not just short term, but long term. Andrew and I have had the pleasure the last few days. We've been contacting a number of people who've been in the business for a long time, and preparing for some things to talk to them about with the JR celebration. And it really, Andrew, touched my heart so many times. People broke down crying, talking about what this business has done for them, because they put the effort in, it's continued to do for them. And, this is in your hands now to take it and get that for yourself and get after it.
Amen. And one thing that I always think when I think of JR, the first thing I think about is the fact, I think of belief. And I mentioned it on the advisory council call we had last Thursday. He believes in people in many cases, even more than they believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of these, his sayings are I just think of, and one of them is, you have to succeed so other people can realize their dreams. And in doing so, your wildest dreams come true. That's what the business is all about, right? Leadership by example, succeeding, setting the right systems, tools, principles, and fundamentals in motion so they'll carry in motion, investing quality time in the business. You saw the formula, and enjoying the process. Time is limited, life is fragile. So why not go out with, and make it happen and live life to the fullest and positively impact other people's lives with the company's products, technology, and business. We're so fortunate. I feel, like you said, very grateful to be an unfranchised owner, to be part of this team, this community. And it's very, very special. And we have a lot to look forward to and a lot to accomplish. And we will make JR proud by filling the arena up with directors sooner than later. So make sure you have your tickets to this leadership school. And
a lot of them will be you. So dream big, because another thing he always said is you can never be bigger than your dreams. So let's get after it, guys. We love you. Have a great rest of the week, and look forward to seeing everybody again soon. Thanks, Andrew, on a great presentation.
Thank you. Same to you. All love and respect to everybody.